fellow blue-collar hustlers. Today I'm going to take you with me. I'm on the job flipping this apartment, making it look spectacular, as you can see behind me. We'll get into that later on, but today's video I want to show anybody out here who is not sure how to install a bathroom faucet. Today you're going to learn how, especially if you got this type of faucet, this type of setup. So let's go. You can tell we got a brand new vanity here, brand new sink installed. It's not even mounted down. Still got some touch-up work to do, some paint here. I got a medicine cabinet, the patch of drywall I got to fix right there. Here's the medicine cabinet, brand new from Lowe's. And of course we got to hook up our water lines and our faucets, because if we need to clean some things up, we need to be able to get to some water to do that. So we do need to change those angle stops. We're going to do that first thing. I'm going to go ahead and jump into changing those angle stops. I would recommend going ahead and getting yourself an impact or a screwdriver and getting the doors off of this. That way you got some room to work. This sucks having to crawl underneath this sink to get in there to get a good grip on that stuff to get it out, especially if they're old, it might get stuck. Luckily for us, the sink hasn't been installed, so we're going to be pulling the counter off here. Check your water pressure. That's something that I just now done. There is still pressure on it. Valves are bad coming from the water tank out, so I'm going to deal with that right now. It's going to be different for you. Make sure your water lines are cut off. You open them up, you crack them, you drain them out so you don't get no water in the base of your vanity. I've grabbed a dishwasher line and I'm hooking it into that valve. It's the cold water on the right. I'm running it over, letting it dump into the toilet, drain itself out. We're going to go ahead and change the one on the left. Now I'm not going to go into detail on this video, but you can check out this video linked in the description box below on how to change these angle stops. Plus, there's a pretty cool tool that you'll learn about in that video. If you are installing some brand new angle stops on these, make sure you check out your sink. Sometimes your sink will already have some copper lines going down inside there, plus they'll give you a 20-inch braided hose. If you got a 20-inch braided hose, you might only need about 6 inches, and you don't want them things to kink up. So if you're putting some new hoses on there, make sure that you twist your angle stop around and tighten it up at a location to where you can actually roll your braided hose around. It won't kink up and it'll still be out of the way and work good for you. Now that I got the angle stops changed, everything's good to go, got them drained out, got that problem fixed. We got top of the sink off here. We're going to go ahead and install everything from up above, and then we're going to sit the whole thing down on top here. Actually, if you're going to be doing this from underneath the sink, then it's going to be the exact same concept. You're going to be assembling it the exact same way. The installation, I am using Delta. If you buy Delta faucets, generally they will come with 2 braided hoses already intact. These are about 20-inch, and if you look at them, it tells you all the information right there. These are 1/2 inch and 3/8. We got 2 of those. Inside here will be our faucet itself and the hardware. The bottom of the faucet does have these copper lines. Now don't worry if they're a little bit bent like so, just be gentle with them and then bend them back in shape the way they're supposed to be before sliding them in the hole. Give you 2 washers right there, plus to give you 2 nuts, plus to give you these flare nuts right here in case you want to flare up your copper line, hook it up that way. First thing you're going to do, make sure you get your seal on here and then feed it through the holes on your sink. It'll essentially sit on here this way with that square in the middle on the back side in case you got one with a plunger, aka a stopper. Back here I got the 3 holes. What I'm going to do is stick it through those 3 holes, and I'm going to take my washer and nuts and lock them on there. You're actually under the sink or above the sink. You want to make sure that your seal right here is even and in place whenever you install this. And I wanted to do this from above, that way I can kind of show you on these types of sinks how this goes in place. These washers are cut. They're designed and they're split that way, so they'll go around the copper. You're going to want your nut right here on the most narrow side of it. That way, whenever everything's nice and even and in shape, you might have somebody holding on the other side for you. You can take a wrench. This is generally a 7/16 11 millimeter. Put it on there, socket, whatever the case may be, and just snug both of these up. This is personally why I like these little roto ratchets, because they come in handy. You can get around a lot of different obstructions with them. You don't want to go too tight. Just make sure they're nice and snug and that your sink ain't going to go anywhere. Now we can go ahead and hook our braided hoses up from up top and then drop the sink in place. Once you get all that tightened up and everything, you can adjust your copper lines if you need to. It's really, really soft copper. You don't want to drop those or anything like that. You don't want to kink them up. You can bend them around where you want them at. If you're underneath the sink, you can move them around where you want them at. Just be gentle with them. That's the benefit of doing this from up above and then installing the sink this way. I can hook these hoses up, drop them down in there, get everything lined up where I wanted it, have the glue and everything on my vanity where I wanted it, and then all I got to do is plug up the last 2 hoses. Another thing a lot of people might not consider whenever you're underneath the sink, instead of doing it this way, you're reaching up there, you're getting your braided hoses installed, you're going to be putting a wrench on there. I don't care what kind of wrench you use. You might use a regular wrench, adjustable wrench, something like that. I like using Knipex. We're going to be tightening them up, but a lot of people don't realize how much pressure and how much torque you can put on a tool. And if you're underneath the sink itself, you're in a complicated position, you're wanting to hurry and get this stuff done, you're going to be tightening it up, and you can easily grab a hold of this and then go to apply torque on it, and whenever you start turning it, you won't realize it, and you'll twist the copper pipe in half. Now these are made with a square, so all you got to do is put yourself an adjustable wrench in behind them there, your other wrench right here, whatever it is that you're using, and tighten it up that way. Just do not over tighten these, because then you'll damage a brand new sink. That's why preferably I like using these Knipex, and I like using a regular adjustable wrench to tighten these up. Much easier tightening these up, and then whenever I get down there, those angle stops, I know how much force I'm going to be applying to them. Get all this stuff installed, we're going to be setting the sink back up on the vanity and getting this thing hooked up now. I could have done the drain the exact same way, but that was the major part of what I wanted to get together. We will do the drain once we get underneath here. Just move your door over here, take it off the hinge, get more access underneath your sink. That's at least what I recommend. Now if you installed everything right and everything's running into your house, you can even look up here on your sink, red on the left, blue on the right. Red is going to be on the left down here as far as the valves go, blue on the right as well. Make sure you hook them up correctly. Now you can kind of see why I angled the angle stops downward instead of upward, because I had plenty of room. Make sure you measure those hoses before you put them in. They're going to be out of the way. People can put stuff underneath this afterwards. It's not going to be in their way. You're not going to have to worry about them yanking on them, getting the copper all twisted up, anything like that. Now, we'll go ahead and get everything else for a drain ready and get it assembled too. Fairly simple. If you haven't done this, don't worry. It's not going to take you long to do it. Open it up out of the box here. Right there you go. Everything is inside of its package. Most drains that you get are probably going to be similar depending on what you get. And if you get one that's got the plunger or the stopper in it, of course, it's going to be a little bit different. We'll cover that in a future. Now, certain ones you might get in store, you'll put through the top and hold it through the bottom and screw them together. This is one solid piece right here. So what you got to do is take this nut off, take your washer off, take your seal off. Just unscrew it and pull it all off there. Everything's took apart. You got your nut, your washer, your seal, and then of course you got your drain. It's got little threads right there. That goes on the inside. This part right here is quite simple. You take it and drop it down inside here. You just stick it right down in there, because there's a little hole right here, and that's for your overflow. You know, your sink's got this overflow, runs down through there. That's what runs through that little square box right here. So basically you're going to want to set it in here. And we're going to go underneath it. We're going to put our rubber seal in there first, then this little gasket, and then our lock nut. You grab your rubber seal right here. You're going to want to take that tapered portion, see how it's raised right there, flat on the bottom, and you're going to want to stick it up in the sink first. Because here's what it looks like underneath there, and that little seal is going to go right in those little grooves when you tighten it up. Basically, you got to hold it, put one hand inside the sink up here, and make sure you hold it all down, and just slide it up there to about that point, and then start assembling everything else. Whenever you start tightening up that nut, it's going to run that seal in place. You're going to want to help hold it there. You can see we got our seal, our friction ring right here, and then our nut. I'm going to go ahead and hold everything up top and run these things in place by hand. Don't worry about putting our tailpiece on last and hooking it up to the P-trap last. By hand, because I can run it up there where I need it at, and it'll start pushing that seal in place, and I can make sure it's dead center where it's supposed to be. Plus I can feel around with my finger, make sure that box is where the overflow is intended to be at. Then I will continue tightening it up by hand. I'll check everything back and forth, make sure it's right where I want it at before we start locking it down. Depending on where you're at in the world will depend on who will tell you to put tape around this or not. You shouldn't need tape around them, but it ain't gonna hurt to put some plumber's tape around them anyways to make sure everything is, you know, kosher, depending on you. I like my Knipex here, and I'm gonna use it to tighten this up. I'm still holding it up top, make sure it's not moving any. You don't want to tighten this so hard that you're gonna bust your porcelain or anything, but you do want to make sure it's good and tight the way it should be. That's about where I want it at. see everything smooshed in there the way it's supposed to be, nice and in line. Everything looks good up here, and I'm not going to go no tighter than that. Now we got our tail piece here, which has got threads. People will tape them up, some won't. I like using leak lock. We've already got our P-trap right here assembled, so we're going to stick it up on our drain line. Make sure everything's good and in line, that our tail piece is long enough. Sometimes it might be a little bit too long, might have to cut some of it off. What to do is go ahead and stick it down inside here. We're going to go ahead and take our seal and our nut and slide it downward because that's where it's going to be securing the pipette. Want the tail piece to be secured to this part of the drain on the P-trap. Look in there, I made sure it was nice and tight by hand. Don't over tighten them with a wrench because you'll break it. Definitely don't want to break it. Thing in line. Tightening this up. And then we're ready to test everything. Water is on. We're gonna test for leaks. And good. No leaks. She is good to go. If it helped you out, make sure you comment down below and let me know. Check out all these social media platforms because I got plenty of content to come. I'll do things a little bit different each time I do them. That way I can cover just about any situation that you might be getting into. I also want to encourage people to get into the trades. People always need jobs like this done. Before you go, make sure you hit that like button and then pop the clutch on that subscribe.